Hey everybody, what's up? You know, I haven't had a chance to really talk about this. I mean, you can see the title up above. And I know a lot of people have been very vocal about this. Some have been more kind of like have been very defensive about what WWE did. And some have actually come to WWE's aid. That's hard to believe. What I'm talking about is, as you probably all know, last week, the character, on-screen character of A.W., Abraham Saddam Washington, or Abraham Washington, whatever you want to call him, was fired. Well, not fired, but last week or so, made a comment on television because his character, as we all know, is supposed to be a promoter, and he's mic'd up during his clientele's matches. So he's mic'd up. And basically, what happens is he says something about the Kobe Bryant rape case, and I think we all know exactly what he talked about. So what happened after that is Michael Cole on air apologizes on behalf of WWE for that coming out of, AW's mouth. Well, the first thing that would probably come to somebody's attention or to a fan's attention is perhaps the punishment is they'll take away the mic. He can't use the mic anymore. He can't be mic'd up. Well, the following SmackDown he was. The following Raw he was. And the following, yesterday's SmackDown, which was taped on 2 nights ago, and the SmackDown from this past Friday, which was taped this past Tuesday, he was also on. But then we get word that before that SmackDown comes on, that he's let go. All due to the fact of what he said. All due to the fact that he made a comment that even TMZ picked up. Now again, a lot of people were very defensive about what WWE did, were very mad about what they did. And they all pointed to one particular thing. And I've said this before in a video about a year or so ago, a couple years ago, that it's all due to one reason. Now, I'll get into that in a moment. But there have been those that have come to WWE's aid. It's not been many, but there have been some, that have basically said that Brian, that's his name, believe it or not, his name's Brian, who portrays A.W. on television, should have known better. Should have known that he's working, should have known better, and should have watched what he said. Should have remembered the guidelines. Some people have, like I said, have said similar things in defense of what happened to A.W., in defense of WWE releasing A.W. But then again, there are those that have come to the defense of A.W. saying, hey look, telling WWE, hey look, you want the guy to be a heel, you want him to be brash and everything, and yet you fire him because of this? And then, in the defense of WWE, one of the spokespeople comes out and says, well, we've warned A.W., we've warned Brian about what he says. We've told him, look, we know you're trying. Basically, the spokesperson comes out and says that they have told Brian, who portrays Abraham Saddam Washington, that you cannot be as outspoken as you want to be. We know you're trying to portray this very arrogant, very over-the-top heel promoter / manager / wrestler or superstar, but you gotta tone it down. We've been trying to tell him, tone it down, but he's not toning it down. Well, here's what happens. After he is released, he goes on a Twitter rampage, as some people have called it, a Twitter rant rampage, a TRR, if you will. And he basically come out and vocally said one of the main reasons, and a lot of fans, even myself, have pointed this out, being the main reason WWE has the PG rating it has, and even as far as a G rating, a couple years back, as Vince McMahon has alluded to, according to numerous sources, is all because Vince McMahon Jr.'s wife, Linda McMahon, who I was a fan of, when she was always part of WWE, when she would, have to do things on television and be the authority figure that would counteract the heel McMahon, either it was Vince or Shane or Stephanie. But I was always a fan of her. But the one thing that I pointed out a couple years ago in one of my videos, that the reason WWE is PG right now is because of the Linda McMahon campaign. And there have been some that have agreed with that, but there have also been some that have disagreed, saying, "Oh, it's not because of that. It's because WWE wants all these sponsors. They want this, they want that." And hey, I totally agree. But don't you find it kind of ironic that ever since Linda decided to step down as the COO of the company and decide to run for Senate, that things have changed? That around that time, things drastically changed. In other words, no more PG-13, no more 14, right to PG. So don't you think it's kind of strange that happens just around the time she decides to start running for office? Or Senate office? You get the idea. Don't you find that kind of strange? I don't. And if Vince McMahon looks at this opportunity for his wife as a chance to, get in the good graces of the media with his company, get in the good graces of people that look at WWE and wrestling as a vulgar, beastly sport or beastly form of entertainment, if this is a way to find a way to get into the good graces, then yeah, everything they did in the past under the 14 thing, long dead and gone, long live PG, here it is. And it shows that by trying to get in the good graces of these people that look at companies like WWE as, beastly entertainment, not suitable entertainment and all that, there's a way to get in the good graces by saying, okay, we're going to take a guy that makes a joke about a rape case from years ago, I should say, and we're going to take him and we're going to fire him and make him an example. We're going to fire him, making him an example. And yet, here's what some fans don't like about this. Here's what some fans don't like about this. Fans feel that the WWE, and I hate to say this, but I have to be in agreement with it, are being hypocritical with AW. Here's the thing. AW says one thing out of context, if you will, for his character in the WWE's eyes, but yet they can continuously make fun of Jim Ross's Bell palsy disease or condition. Yet they can continuously do that, but someone like AW can't get away with making a joke of a case that happened years ago that was dropped. And all because why? Because, as I mentioned before, and a lot of people have agreed with this, they want to keep in good graces with the public, as well as make sure Linda has a better shot at winning her Senate seat. But many have said that, but many have gone to YouTube, many have gone to Facebook, many have gone to Twitter, and have said, look, Linda McMahon did this before and she failed, she should have learned. And yet she's doing it again. And all this is for Vince, and all Vince McMahon is doing, and many people have said similar things, is he's using this to get in the good graces. Just like I've said, using it to get in the good graces of the media. Good graces of those that look down at wrestling companies like WWE. the thing is, I don't like what WWE did to AW any more than anybody else. And AW has come out, like I said, on that Twitter rampage and has said it was because of Linda McMahon's Senate campaign. I mean, what are they going to do if she doesn't win for the second time? What are they going to do? Are they going to finally open their eyes and say, you know what? She's never going to win. Let's just go back to TV 14. Is that what's going to happen? Probably. Or probably not. Well, I shouldn't say probably. I should say more like probably not. Because here's why. Here's why. Let me explain. WWE has a new show coming out in about less than a week. On the new, I guess you could say, Saban block, if you will. It's a half-hour show called Saturday Morning Slam. And it's basically kind of like one of those live-action Saturday morning shows you used to see on NBC back in the mid-'80s, early to mid-'80s, and sometimes even later on in the '90s, and even today, and even in the past and even in the past decade, I should say. This is one of those half-hour shows. The thing is, what it's going to be is going to be more of a profiling superstars, having strong emphasis on the Be a Star campaign, as well as have one exclusive match on the show. One match that's not seen on Raw, SmackDown, or Superstars. One match within the half hour. So if you're holding out hope that WWE will go back to 14 or at least get a little edgier, your hope's going to die down when Saturday Morning Slam comes around, because the reason that show's coming on is not just not to target the younger audience. It's all because of the Linda McMahon campaign. And here's going to be the question. How long is that going to last? Nobody knows. You see, the thing is, WWE is doing everything in their power, more specifically, Vince McMahon is doing everything in his power, to get in the good graces of the media, get in the good graces of those that look down at wrestling, just so he can give his wife a strong fighting chance of winning the Senate seat of Connecticut, even if it means going as far as to firing somebody who said something out of context by mistake and went on Twitter and apologized for it. Even going as far as producing a Saturday morning series. A Saturday morning show was targeted at the younger generation. Now, I have no problem with the Saturday morning show. I get you want to get a younger generation in that. But if it's all because you want to give your wife, who used to be the CEO of your company, a role, believe it or not, that made her look like a strong female, that made her a strong female on television, didn't matter, I don't know what role it was, or what role she had to play, she was demonstrated as a strong female. You know, she didn't have to use it to catapult herself to the Senate. But the point is, if it's just to help her win that seat, or give her a stronger fighting chance, a stronger, more edgier fighting chance at being the lady senator of Connecticut, then I guess more power to you if that's what the show's going to do. But I guess the point I'm trying to make, folks, is if you know you're going to have your wife running for Senate or for a public office or a national office, and you know that this is your opportunity of getting in the good graces of the media and of those that look down on you, if you know that's all going on, and if you know you have to go as far as making your is changing the rating of your changing the television rating of your product from 14 to PG, and even a couple years ago, even going as far as G in some areas, then you ought to know better than to have someone like A.W. come out and do his thing, knowing that he might say something like he did, even if he didn't mean it, even if he didn't say it was out of context. If you know you're going to have to help her, if you know this whole PG era deal, and with the addition of your new Saturday morning show, is all to help your wife, get to that position that she wants to get to, then you ought to wait. He would have been the smart move. You should have waited on A.W. Here's what I would have done. Here's what I would have done. Instead of having a potentially great character wiped off your roster, or taken off your roster because he said something out of context, I would have had him go to NXT. I would have had him be part of that new NXT and let him grow from there. Let him learn from there. That's what I would have done. Because right now the new NXT is not worldly seen, if you know what I mean. It's not worldly seen. It's not seen here in the United States yet. That's, of course, unless you look on YouTube, if you're lucky enough to find it on YouTube, or find a torrent or something off Rhapsody Show or something. The point I'm trying to get is it's not internationally distributed just yet, which would include the United States. So the best idea to me is to have them start on the new NXT. Hold off. Wait on it. I mean, I know you wanted to get the guy out there as fast as you can because you saw the potential that he had when you gave him his Abraham Washington show on ECW. And believe me, that had potential. It showed he had that potential. He's shown it in FCW, but the thing is, if you knew when you said go ahead and say certain things, just try to keep it, don't try to keep it as, try to keep it in a PG rated environment. If you knew the guy was going to go and say the things he was going to say, even if he didn't mean to say certain things that got out of context, or that were looked at out of context, or heard out of context, then you should have waited on him. Does WWE realize the fan rage they got right now? They probably do. But the thing is, folks, WWE should have known better. Yes, I agree. Brian Johnson, whatever his name is, A.W., he should have known better before he said something. But you know what? WWE should have known better before they brought him on. If they knew he was going to be like this, they should have waited until maybe this whole campaign thing with Linda was over. And honestly, should have made him part of the new NXT. And if you know you got somebody like A.W. that will vocally come out and say, hey, look, I just never liked the fact that your company was PG because it limits people, then you should have waited to bring him on. If you knew he didn't like the PG product, or the product being PG because of a Senate campaign, you should have waited. You should have waited. I mean, I've noticed that when she didn't win the last time, yeah, it was still PG, but there were times it got a little edgy. Got edgier after the campaign. And you know why? Because she wasn't running for campaign, so they didn't have to have that good of an image. They didn't have to be in good graces at times with people that look down. So the point I'm trying to make before I go here, because this video is getting pretty long, is one, if WWE should have known better, WWE should have known better before they brought A.W. up, knowing they have this campaign thing for Linda going. A.W. should have known better before he said anything. That was his fault, and he apologized for it. But the thing is, if you want to keep a potentially great character in AW on your roster as your so-called promoter of his own company, a manager and a superstar wrestler, if you will, then here's what you do. Here's what you do. You put him on something like NXT, let him learn how to do things the WWE way, if you will, then bring him on. Don't just say, okay, AW, we're going to put you now right to the main roster. You don't do that. If you know he's potentially going to be somebody that's going to say what they want to say, and at times maybe say something out of context which they shouldn't. So that's all I'm going to say on this. And if any of you agree, comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Video response if you like. This is going to be placed on Facebook, Twitter, wherever. Let me know what you guys think. Wrestling community, WWE chat, Off the Rope show, British Fist. You know, let me know what you guys think. MJ Knight, just Raw Rebound people. Let me know what you guys think down below. Video response if you like. And I'll talk to you later.
Excuse me.